Hello everyone, Salam, Namaste, Adab, and welcome to today's event. Today we have a very interesting topic, politics of extremism and the emergence of the Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan. And the speaker is Professor Tahir Kamran, a very well-known, very well-established academician, author, historian, and public intellectual in Pakistan. He is a professor of liberal arts at Beaconhouse National University, Lahore. It's a liberal art college or university, and it's doing a wonderful work on these various disciplines. Kamran Saab's work is more focused on sectarianism, religious fundamentalism, and the socio-political status of minorities in Pakistan. He is joined by Faiza Bharat, who is a student of liberal arts at Beaconhouse University, with a minor in media studies and a teaching assistant of Professor Kamran. She will be introducing Professor Kamran. And the concluding remarks will be given by Dr. Muhammad Baqa Sajjad, who is an assistant professor at the same college. And Dr. Sajjad's focus is mostly on the Deobandi and Barelvi traditions in the country, Sufism, and the circumstances of religious minorities in the country of Pakistan. So welcome you all, and now I invite Faiza Bharat for the formal introductory remarks for the theme and Professor Tahir Kamran. Faiza? Faiza, yeah, please. Haris, remove the poster, please.
Thank you, Mr. Razi, for giving me the space now. Good morning, good evening, and good night to everyone joining us from different time zones. My name is Faiza Bharat, and I'm joining you from Lahore today. I'm a student of Beaconhouse National University, and I have also had the distinct privilege of serving as a teacher assistant to our distinguished speaker today, Professor Tahir Kamran. It is an absolute pleasure to be here today on the behalf of Professor Kamran and to extend our gratitude to Indian Diaspora Washington, D.C. Metro community for organizing this session. While this event is convened by Indian diaspora, the issue we are discussing today, the politics of extremism, is one that transcends border. It is a critical subject for all the South Asians and for everyone concerned with the health of democratic societies. I am therefore particularly grateful for the platforms like this that exist to foster a deeper cross-cultural and cross-border understanding of complex regional dynamics. And now, it's my honor to introduce our scholar, who is not just an academic on this subject, but a deeply insightful observer from within the region. Professor Tahir Kamran is a distinguished historian and an academic, currently serving as a head of Department of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences at Beaconhouse National University. His esteemed career includes prestigious appointments such as Allama Iqbal Fellowship at Center of South Asian Studies at University of Cambridge. Now, his research spans South Asian politics and intellectual history with a particular focus on religious movements, colonial governance, and post-colonial state formations. Just last year, he authored one of the most highly regarded books on the history of Pakistan called Checkered Past, Uncertain Futures. It is a most deeply historical grounding that allows him to provide unparalleled insights into historical underpinnings of extremism and sectarian politics in Pakistan. Professor Tahir Kamran is therefore uniquely positioned to unpack today's phenomenon, which we'll be discussing, not from a distinct theoretical viewpoint, but from a more grounded analytical perspective of someone who has witnessed its evolution firsthand. For those of our audience who are less familiar with the specifics, the Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan, or otherwise called TLP, is not just another political party. It's a movement that has profoundly impacted Pakistan's political and religious landscape over the last decade. Emerging from Barelvi school of thought, it has uniquely mobilized mass support around a single potent issue, which is the protection of Prophet Muhammad's honor, which it frames as Namuse Risalat. This has translated into a powerful and often disruptive street power, demonstrated by major protests that has brought the nation to negotiating tables. So What makes the TLP a critical case study is its successful transition from aggressive street-level agitation into a formidable political entity, amassing millions of votes. Understanding its emergence is a key of understanding the evolving and complex phase of religious nationalism and political extremism in Pakistan today. So, without further ado, it is my great pleasure to invite to the virtual stage my professor and our guide today, Professor Tahir Kamran from Beaconhouse National University, to present his talk on the politics of extremism and the emergence of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan. Please join me in welcoming Professor Kamran.
Thank you, Faiza, for such an elaborate intro and very generous introduction. And I'm enormously grateful to Razi Saab, Razi Raziuddin, who had been kind enough to reach out to me and ask me to give a presentation. And I hope many people will find it interesting because it's a very recent phenomenon in the political history of Pakistan, whatever unfolded last month. From the last month, my end point into that discourse will be from the last month, rather on 13th October 2025, Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan, or TLP, attempted to march from Lahore toward Islamabad to stage a sit-in in front of United States Embassy, protesting the atrocities committed against Palestinians in Gaza by Israel and ardently supported by United States of America. Their progress was halted in the town of Tehreek, which is not very far off from Lahore, where security forces launched a pre-dawn crackdown. Clashes erupted, fire was used, and the death toll remains disputed. Officials claim 3 TLP activists were killed, while the party and other analysts suggest the figure might run into hundreds. Some estimates say that those were the 750 people who were massacred, and some say that there were 350 at least, including the leaders of TLP, Saad Rizvi and Anas Rizvi. No one knows what happened to them. The episode marked an abrupt end of what had been startling and rapid ascension of a religio-political force in Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for joining me today as we explore one of the most striking developments in Pakistan's recent political and religious history, the rise of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan, or TLP. This movement, which began less than a decade ago, has already shaken the foundations of Pakistan's politics, challenged civilian authority, and raised troubling questions about the country's long struggle with religious extremism. To many outside observers, the TLP appeared to erupt suddenly, a loud, angry, and uncompromising voice on Pakistan's streets, demanding the punishment of blasphemers and proclaiming itself the defender of the Prophet Muhammad's honor. Yet its rise is neither abrupt nor accidental. It is deeply rooted in decades of state policy, sectarian rivalry, and the gradual transformation of railway Islam, a tradition long regarded as mystical and peaceful, into a more militant and politically charged force. Our discussion today aims to unpack this transformation by addressing four key questions. How and why did TLP, or Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan, emerge? What ideology and organizational structure underpin it? How did Pakistan's state and military establishment contribute to its rise? And finally, what does its existence reveal about the broader dynamics of extremism and politics in South Asia? The story of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan begins in 2015 when Khadim Hussain Rizvi, a fiery cleric originating from Attock, but he served mostly in Lahore as Imam or prayer leader and one of the mosques, founded the movement. Father Hussain Rizvi was a follower of Bilwi tradition within Sunni Islam, a sect known for its deep reverence for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his love for Sufi saints, and its emphasis on shrine-based spirituality. Historically, the Brelvis had been considered moderate in contrast to the Deobandis or Salafis, who were jihad-prone extremists, who were often associated with militant movements such as Taliban, Lashkar-e-Jangvi, Spy Sahaba Pakistan, etc. Fateh Hussain Rizvi, however, represented a dramatic departure from this image, paralyzed from the waist down and after a car accident and confined to a wheelchair. He nevertheless commanded magnetic presence. His sermons at Lahore's Peer Makki Mosque were theatrical performances infused with humor, biting sarcasm, coarse Punjabi idioms, and a deep emotional appeal. This distinctive style captivated audiences for hours, railing against anyone he perceived as disrespectful to the Prophet. His central message, though blunt, resonated powerfully. Whoever insults the Prophet deserves death. गुस्ताख रसूल की एक ही सजा सरतन से जुदा सरतन से जुदा. That was the original slogan. And uh, ironically, we can compare the style of oration that had been exhibited by Khadim Hussain Rizvi with Ataullah Shah Bukhari. He also was the same style of a speaker, though both of them came from a different sectarian background. He was a Deobandi, Ataullah Shah Bukhari, but he used the same tactics and theatrics, and he could captivate audience for hours and hours. And his speech also was not prepared speech. You know, he used to speak extempore, and he went on and on. So probably Khalid Hussain Rizvi has drawn inspiration from Ataullah Bukhari. And same can be said about, to a certain extent, Abul Kalam Azad, who was a phenomenal speaker. And they could enthrall audience for hours and hours. His khutbahs of Juma is renowned for not only the profundity but the oratory skills that were peculiar to Abu Kalam. So this sentiment found receptive audience in the wake of Governor of Punjab Salman Taseer's 2011 assassination. Salman Taseer had publicly criticized Pakistan's harsh blasphemy laws, calling it black law, and his assassin Mumtaz Hussain Qadri, a small-time police officer and a Railway follower, was celebrated as a hero by many. When Qadri was executed in 2016, hundreds of thousands attended his funeral. Rizvi emerged as the movement's most passionate spokesman, channeling collective outrage into political force. From this emotional upsurge, Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan. The movement's first major political test came in November 2017 when the government, led by Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, amended the wording of the election oath regarding belief in the finality of the prophethood. The change from inverted commas, I solemnly swear, I believe, appeared trivial to most observers. But to Father Hussain Rizvi and his followers, it symbolized a sinister conspiracy to appease the Ahmadi community, a minority declared non-Muslim under Pakistan's constitution in 1974. In response, Thousands of TLP supporters poured into the streets, blocking the key highway connecting Islamabad and Rawalpindi. For 3 weeks, they paralyzed the capital, chanting, Labbaik Ya Rasulullah. Here we are, O Messenger of God. The government vacillated. Police attempts to clear the protest failed, and the impasse deepened until the army intervened, not to suppress the demonstration, but to mediate. The agreement that ended the standoff was signed under military supervision by Major General Faiz Hamid, then a senior intelligence officer who later on rose to the rank of Academician inter-services intelligence. And now he is incarcerated just because he competed with the current field marshal for this position. It included the resignation of the law minister, who was Mr. Zahid Hamid, and most strikingly, a video showing a military officer handing envelopes of money to departing protesters, thanking them for their service. For many Pakistanis, this episode confirmed long-standing suspicions that Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan had illicit support from the military establishment. They sought to use it to undermine the civilian government of Mr. Nawaz Sharif. To understand this dynamic, we must revisit the notion of Pakistan's deep state, powerful military and intelligence apparatus that has dominated political life from 1951 and to many of the analysts, political analysts of Pakistan from 1954, when Mr. Yukon, Field Marshal Yukon or General Yukon was not only a commander-in-chief of armed forces, but he also um, had the portfolio of the defense minister. Since 1980s, military rulers have often encouraged and manipulated religious groups to advance strategic objectives, whether by promoting jihad in Afghanistan or by countering nationalist and democratic forces at home. The Bravery community, historically apolitical and non-militant, seemed to offer a safe option for such engineering. Under General Pervez Musharraf's program of enlightened moderation, the state began to promote Sufi shrines and bravery organizations as moderate alternatives to the more radical Deobandis. However, as history has repeatedly shown, attempts to manipulate religious identity are fraught with unintended consequences. By 2010s, the Braveries had themselves undergone radicalization. Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan emerged as their way to political assertion. This development, as I have noted it elsewhere, was as much about power as about faith. The rise of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan fractured Pakistan's political field, diverting votes from major political parties like Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz and strengthening the military's hand in civilian politics. What began as an exercise in religious engineering thus evolved into a self-perpetuating cycle of populist extremism and institutional toxicity. At the heart of TLP's ideological framework lies Khatm-e-Nabuwwat, belief in the finality of the Prophet Muhammad's prophethood. This doctrine has long carried explosive political significance in Pakistan, fueling violent movements in 1953 when there was a urban movement against Ahmadiyya community. 1974, as a result of which Ahmadis were declared non-Muslims, and again in 2010s, each time resulting in persecution of minority communities. The TLP presents itself as the ultimate guardian of this belief, portraying its mission as the defense of the Prophet's honor. Yet in practice, this defense often manifests as incitement to violence, not only against non-Muslims, but also against fellow Muslims deemed insufficiently devout or respectful. Qadim Hussaini's rhetoric combined theological passion with populist rage. His sermons attacked politicians, Western powers, and Pakistan's rulers alike, portraying them as morally corrupt or spiritually compromised. After Rizvi's death in 2020, leadership passed on to his son, Saad Rizvi, who continued and even intensified his father's confrontational style. In 2023, for example, Saad demanded that Pakistan declare war on Sweden following incidents of Quran's desecration. This blend of religious devotion, political anger, and street-level mobilization made Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan a formidable force. In 2018 general elections, despite limited resources and organization, that party secured over 2.2 million votes, making it the fifth largest political force in Pakistan, a remarkable achievement for a movement nearly 3 years ago. Even in later election that was held on 8th of February 2024, ELP was again a formidable force, ranking fifth so far as the popular vote was concerned.
Sahib, excuse me. Somehow your voice at the end of the sentences are not heard as clearly. So maybe it's the mic issue. I'm not so sure.
Okay, I will try to speak
Okay,
loud.
okay. I'm just
So should I repeat last sentences? That's fine. Beneath this image of spontaneous street protest, TLP maintains a surprisingly disciplined organizational structure. As central decision-making body, the Shura or Council is headquartered in Lahore at Multan Road, comprises between 13 and 18 senior clerics representing various regions of Pakistan. From this core radiates a hierarchical network that extends down through provinces, districts, constituencies, and even village level units. That also indicates one very important feature so far as Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is concerned, that is a Punjab-centric lower middle class organization. So it is centered in Lahore, and it's more of a sport that it musters. It comes from Punjab, despite the fact that it claims a nationwide appeal, and it has its presence probably in Karachi and Peshawar and other places, but its activity, the theater of its activity in Punjab. This structure of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan, I'm sorry, enables the party to mobilize large numbers of followers at short notice, coordinate nationwide demonstrations, and maintain a consistent message. Its rallies, often massive in scale, exhibit degree of discipline uncommon among populist religious movements. The TLP's capacity to paralyze major cities within hours stems not only from fervor but from careful organization, a fact that distinguishes it from earlier, more fragmented movements in Pakistan's religious landscape. Whereas the TLP's deeper roots, we must return to the religious and intellectual history of Brailwi Islam. The movement originated the, in the last few years of the 19th century and early part of the 20th century, colonial India, under Ahmad Raza Khan Brailwi, who sought to defend Sunni orthodoxy against reformist interpretations advanced by Deobandis and Ahle Hadith. Ahmad Raza's theology centered on the Prophet Muhammad, not as a distant historical figure, but as a living, luminous presence capable of interceding for believers. This concept, known as Noor-e Muhammadi, or the light of Muhammad, lay at the core of Brailwi's spirituality. Here, I must, just to clarify the perspective, I must say a few things. That by the end of the 19th century, to my own reckoning, there had been three major transformations in South Asian Islam, particularly in North India. That Islam was from that transformation was from the orality to literacy, because printing press had come, and most of the literature, religious literature, was produced by printing press, and it was disseminated, at large in a large quantum. Secondly, there was a shift of the focus from shrine to the mosque. And third was there was a shift from the Sufis, the Maulvis, or the scholars, religious scholars. So all this three-pronged shift, it was the outcome of the modernity that was introduced by colonialism. Therefore, this a combination of religion and culture of the subcontinent that emerged in the form of a Sufi Islam, it had to take a backseat, and more ritualistic, more puritanical version of Islam came to the forefront. And in this context, it was, and obviously when Darul Uloom Deoband uh, was established, and it represented traditional Islam. Aligarh College was established, Mohammedan Anglo-Orient College, by Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan at the same time. It represented modernist Islam, and Jamaat-e represented heterodoxy. So against that background, Ahmad Raza Khan Brailwi tried to re-engineer that Islam which he thought was the original version, where Prophet was at the center of the whole scheme of things. So that's how Noor-e Muhammadi was conceived, and it was articulated. But then it's very, very important for all of us to bear in mind that from those modernist tendencies, even Brailwi Islam could not escape. The shrine-centered Islam was diluted, and he himself wrote extensively, Ahmad Raza Khan, and it also became exclusionary. So before the onset of colonial modernism or Western modernity, Islam as a religion had been inclusive, but with the onset of colonialism, religion in particular, whether Hinduism or Sikhism or Islam, they became exclusionary, and that exclusion was at its uppermost, was at its loudest, when Ahmad Raza Khan Brailwi started excluding every other sect from the pale of Islam. So and now coming back to his profound devotion, Ahmad Raza Khan's profound devotion, which was harbored, which also harbored an exclusionary tendency that I had been talking about. Ahmad Raza's writings, particularly his fatwa, which he wrote in 1902, Fatwa Husamu Haraman, but that fatwa came to a public notice in 1906, denounced several rival Muslim scholars and declared entire Ahmadi community as kafirs or infidels. The act of takfir, declaration of others as apostates, established a theological precedent that would later underpin railway militancy. By 1920, railway leaders were combining spiritual authority with political activism, founding the All India Sunni Conference in 1905 and rejecting cooperation with both Hindus and rival Muslim sects. In this way, the seeds of sectarian exclusivity were planted long before Pakistan's independence. And Ahmad Raza Khan Brelvi was one of those scholars who also issued fatwa in favor of British in World War First. So he was extremely anti-Hindu, but he was pro-British. Throughout much of Pakistan's post-independence history, Brelvis regarded themselves as victims of Deobandi and Salafi dominance. During 1980s, General Ziaul Haq's regime extended official patronage primarily to Deobandi institutions, leaving Brelvis marginalized. Their clerics were assassinated, their shrines bombed, and their communities targeted by sectarian outfits such as Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, Spy Sahaba Pakistan, and Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan. Over time, this sense of victimhood transformed into resentment and ultimately aggression. When the state failed to safeguard their interests, many Brelvis decided to assert their own religious authority through direct action. The Asia Bibi blasphemy case of 2010 reignited these passions. The Punjab governor Salman Taseer's subsequent assassination marked a turning point. His assassin, Mumtaz Hussain Qadri, became a symbol of divine justice in railway circles. Khadim Hussain Rizvi astutely harnessed this sentiment, constructing Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan's identity around Mumtaz Hussain Qadri's martyrdom. The killer's shrine became a site of pilgrimage and his execution a rallying cry for mass mobilization. Through a TLP, the Brailvi transformation from mystical devotion to militant activism was completed. The rise of TLP had profound implications for Pakistan's political, social, and international landscape. Domestically, it had eroded civilian authority by demonstrating that sustained street pressure can force government capitulation. Each time TLP stages a protest, the state retreats, ministers resigned, policy decisions were reversed, and the military once again assumed the role of mediator. This dynamic had also reshaped Pakistan's political discourse. Mainstream parties, fearing accusations of blasphemy, had adopted increasingly hardline religious rhetoric to avoid alienating conservative voters. The cumulative effect had been a shift of the entire political spectrum towards intolerance and reaction. Internationally, Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan's actions have tarnished Pakistan's image. The recurring scenes of violent protests in the name of religion undermine the state's attempts to project stability and attract investment. Moreover, Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan's ascent has dispelled the long-standing belief that extremism is confined to Deobandi or Salafi traditions. It compelled a rethinking of the simplistic dichotomy between moderate and radical Islamists, revealing its instead a fluid continuum shaped by politics as much as piety. Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan's enduring popularity stems from its mastery of populist emotion, a society marked by deep economic inequality, corruption, and political disillusionment. Religious anger offers a sense of moral clarity and collective belonging. Rizvi's rough-edged humor and colloquial speech resonated with those who felt excluded from the elite political order. Mostly Khadim Hussain Rizvi used to make his speeches in Punjabi with Potwari accent. By framing blasphemy as both a religious and national issue, he gave ordinary Pakistanis a cause that transcended class and ethnic divides. Social media played a decisive role in amplifying this message. Videos of Rizvi's fiery speeches circulated widely on platforms like YouTube and WhatsApp, enabling Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan to build a nationwide following without reliance on traditional political networks. This form, a digital populism, mirrors political trends from Trumpism in the United States or Narendra Modi in India to far right movements in Europe, in which charisma, outrage, and online mobilization replace formal organization and ideology. The story of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan offers several sobering lessons. First, it demonstrates that religious extremism is not static, it evolves and adapts, emerging even from traditions previously seen as moderate. Second, it underscores the dangers of state manipulation of religion. The very establishment that once promoted Brailwi Islam as a counterbalance to militant Deobandism now finds itself struggling to contain the radical forces it helped unleash. Third, Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan's rise reveals the volatile fusion of populism and piety in contexts where democracy is fragile and economic despair runs deep. Finally, it reminds us that violence in the name of faith rarely begins with physical acts, it begins with language, with the normalization of exclusion, outrage, and the politics of divine anger. In conclusion, the story of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan stands as both a revelation and a warning. Its dramatic rise and violent and encapsulate violent end. Its dramatic rise and violent end encapsulate the recurring tragedy of Pakistan's political experiment with religion as an instrument of power. The movement that once mobilized hundreds of thousands in the name of faith was ultimately crushed in the same streets where it once reigned supreme. The massacre at Muridke in October 2025, when TLP workers were stopped, beaten, and reportedly killed in large numbers as they marched towards Islamabad, signaled not only the physical destruction of the organization, but also the end of an era of illusion for many who believed that religious fervor could substitute for democratic legitimacy. TLP's downfall mirrors a long and familiar pattern in Pakistan's history. Time and again, the state has nurtured religious groups for short-term political gain, from jihadist networks in the 1980s to sectarian militias, and most recently populist religious parties, only to abandon or suppress them once their utility expired. Each cycle leaves behind deeper polarization, more violence, and an increasingly fragile social fabric. Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan, despite its loud slogans and mass appeal, was never a fully autonomous political act and functioned in many ways as a proxy, a tool in the hands of powerful institutions that have long used religion to weaken civilian authority and manipulate public sentiment. When that tool became uncontrollable, it was cast aside with ruthless efficiency. The lesson, therefore, is unmistakable. Politics of faith, when weaponized for statecraft, devours its own creators. The manipulation of religious passion for tactical advantage may yield temporary control, but it corrodes the foundations of democracy and moral authority alike. In the end, the emergence and the one expression of Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan is not an isolated episode, but part of a larger and more troubling continuum where religion, politics, and power remain fatally entangled. Pakistan today faces an immense challenge to reconcile faith with democracy, devotion with tolerance, and piety with peace. DLP's trajectory reveals both the mobilizing power of belief and the peril of exploiting it for political ends, unless Pakistan's institutions, both civilian and military alike, confront the roots of this extremism, abandon the cynical use of religion as a political weapon, the cycle of religious populism, state complicity, and eventual violence will only deepen. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Wonderful, wonderful talk. And as you said, the militancy or the militant Islam or militant religion is always a poison for any democratic setup. And that's what you are facing. That's what many other countries are facing. Let's bring Dr. Waqas Sahab, Waqas Sajjad Sahab for concluding remarks. And after that, we will go for question and answer. Waqas Sahab.
Thank you, Tisab. So thank you, Dr. Tahir, for that very analytical overview of the TLP. I was wondering how I could add to the discussion. What I thought I'd do is I'd go over some research that I conducted with TLP around 2 to 3 years ago. I was working on a project, and for that project, I had the opportunity to reach out to quite a few TLP members, workers, and leadership as well. Not the highest rungs of leadership, though I tried very hard. And what I thought is I'd talk a bit about what those conversations revealed to me. One, those interviews, and two, some of the social media analysis that I had the chance to carry out at the time. So I'm going to divide this, and I'll try to finish within 5 to 6 minutes. I'm going to divide this into five sort of key findings, learnings that came up at the time. One was about social media. Now, what TLP has done, even now that it's over as a party as such, what TLP did is that it was very aware, it felt victimized and targeted, that the state had constantly banned its presence on mainstream media. No TLP rally, no leadership speech, no event was going to be publicized. It was never going to be on the mainstream news. So what TLP did very effectively is went into social media. It ended up having a very well managed social media network. It would use all websites. It would use WhatsApp most effectively, and it did this by engaging and mobilizing volunteers at the grassroots. Like Dr. Tahir said, TLP had these grassroots mobilizers, people at the district level. And what they would do is they would create Facebook groups, Twitter groups, and especially WhatsApp groups. The same material would get posted everywhere, and it would be divided into regions, cities, districts, in order to have something of a coherent system at the grassroots. And what I found most interesting there, and I'll just share this for just a minute, is the sort of material that came up there. So for example, there would be, if we have to divide this into things, there were posters. The posts would regularly be highlighted using quite good graphics, where they would always have Khadim Hussain Rizvi, who's the gentleman up here, the founder, Dr. Tahir said, and there would be posts that would highlight how he was the legitimate Islamic leader in Pakistan, as opposed to all the other political leaders here and there who have bowed down to Western pressure. In these images, they're meeting with the French president, for example, when there was something that was happening, and TLP was against France and asking Pakistan to boycott France. There would be posts which would, well, first of all, they would create hashtags. They would be posts which would try to create narratives that these are actually the peaceful members of society, these leadership, and not extremists or terrorists. There would be posts that were about, well, things that were going on around the time. So in this particular post, you'll find, for example, celebrating the attacker of Salman Rushdie, because he was seen as one of the enemies of the narrative that TNP had built up. Similarly, there would be posts announcing their events. And as you can see, you have the original leader always looking out for his son, who became the next leader. So social media became that one very important site that I think TLP used. The second thing that they use, and this is what my interviews really revealed, is service to people. This was around the time when Pakistan was really affected by, like, one third of Pakistan was affected by floods that all over the country. And the claim of the TLP followers and the leadership was that, well, they had organized camps, they had raised funds. And I saw this myself. People were coming in, giving them money, giving them food, because they had the trust of the people. There was the additional claim that all of this service to the people was being done without any political goals. But of course, we can take that claim only with a pinch of salt, because everything was highlighted on social media. And I was told quite categorically that our leadership is going into these new communities, reaching out to people, supporting them in flood relief efforts. And this will become a way that these new communities will look up to TLP as the alternative to all the corrupt politicians that they otherwise face. And as Dr. Tahir said, that TLP was looking primarily at Punjab as its primary support base. So, with the floods, their goal was to reach out to other communities, such as in KP, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in order to get more supporters in new constituencies as well. On that note, a third important point that kept coming up was the idea of elections. As Dr. Tahir also mentioned, that in both the elections that have taken place since TLP became a political party, the party did quite well. External sort of observers kept looking at the party as being a spoiler. The idea that there's going to be certain votes that it will take away from other parties, such as the PMLN. Uh, but all the people I interviewed, they were insistent, and there was a genuine belief that TLP was a legitimate political party that was going to win many more seats, and it was only because the entrenched parties carried out corruption in voting, and there was a rigging in election results, which is why their party failed to win more seats. So what their idea was, that the TLP is not just there as a small party with a limited mandate and a single agenda of Khatm Nabuwat, which is what everyone else was saying. The followers' idea was that TLP is going to contest for the topmost posts. In fact, they felt that the party was the only party worthy of that honor. So after the idea of social media, service to the people, and elections, a fourth point that kept coming up is how TLP was creating an environment of fear for religious minorities in Pakistan. Uh, for TLP, this was one of the most important things that they were trying to defend themselves against. They felt that this was simply an agenda of their opponents, people who wanted to attack Islam because they would affiliate themselves with Islam quite clearly. Uh, and that far from being against minorities, they would claim that they had accommodated people from other religions, people who are not Muslims, into their political system, and that in fact they were candidates who TLP had fielded in the general elections, and this was the case. There were a couple of people who were not Muslim who ran for elections on the TLP platform. However, in that same sort of project that I was working on, I also interviewed people from minority communities, and it clearly emerged in places like Karachi that places where TLP was trying to gain a political foothold also became places where minority communities in Pakistan began feeling much more unsafe. Accusations of blasphemy, the threat of the accusation of blasphemy became very consistent and very clear as well. The last thing in this sort of findings that I sort of prepared for this was this idea of narratives of sacrifice. In all my conversations with TLP workers and leadership, one thing that came out clearly was that this party, in its recent history, the last what 7 or 8 years at that time, had created very important moments in its recent past. The idea that this was the time when XYZ number of our people had been killed or had been arrested, our leadership was put into prison and they were banned. And for the followers of the party, these moments they became important junctures of the sacrifices of their leadership for Islam itself. So they would count the number of people who were killed, who were injured, the leaders who were imprisoned, and then these became very important markers of their identity. So going by these conversations, as Dr. Tahir also mentioned, that the party has sort of recently reached its sort of inglorious end. If TLP is to survive in any meaningful way, beyond this recent banning, this 2025 engagement with the state in Muridke will become another important marker in its identity and in its political story. But for that, we'll have to wait and see, and much of that depends on the new leadership, whether or not Saad Rizvi comes up again. So with that, I'll end, and I hope I didn't take too much time.
No, not at all. Quite revealing. Your findings are quite revealing, especially on the ground that they did put some non-Muslim as candidates. That was a PR attempt, I guess. So before we go to question answer, as we always do for our upcoming Saturday talk, Haris, show the poster, please.
जी बड़े हुआ।
You're showing yourself, not the poster. Yes. This is not very clear, but anyway, next coming Saturday, we have one of India's finest professor, teacher, and linguist, Padam Shri Professor Ganesh Devi. He is loved by most of his scholars in India. He is a former professor of English at University of Baroda, a scholar, literary critic. He is so many things. He has written more than 150 books, I guess. He is so well known. It would be really pleasure to listen to him. His talk is Citizen Under Siege, present day India. So Citizen Under Siege, and he is going to talk on that topic. And he will be joined by another very well-known professor, Professor Apurvanand, who is a professor of Hindi in University of Delhi, and Professor Pushparaj Deshpande, uh, Dr. Pushparaj Deshpande. So not over to today, I am the co-host because two of my co-hosts are vacationing in India. So please bear with me. I'm not that good as Dr. Rafat Hussain. So please be very brief. Take out the poster, Haris. Please be very brief. in your comment or in your question. Haris, remove yourself, please. And ask questions, just specific questions to Dr. Tahir Saab or any other two other speakers. So let's go by raise hands. Dr. Nazir Ahmed. Nazir Saab.
जी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया प्रोफेसर साहब.
Thank you.
Many thoughts, many questions. I'll just focus on one, which is the politicization of love from a historical perspective in Islam. How and why it happened. Islam is love. Quran is love. And the Quran is very explicit. It says, فَإِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي. You love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you follow the Prophet. You mentioned, for instance, Nur al-Muhammadi is such a profound concept in the hands of Ibn al-Arabi. It led to the profound idea of Wahdat al-Wujud. And in the Punjab, with Sarhindi, it led to Shuhud. And when you look at the Rubaiyat of Rumi, it's nothing but a great song of love. So the question is, what happened? Where did it happen? Very specifically, sir, pointed question. As a student of history, would it be correct to look at a hinge around the year about 1680 to 1690, when three things happened? One,
Nazir Saab, please be brief. Please be brief.
Ji. So how and when did the politicization happen? Thank you, sir.
Okay. My own reckoning, I think, is because of the classificatory model of the Western modernism that crept into the epistemic space of northern India when the gray areas were totally obliterated, and there was black and white binaries which were created. And that's how the system of takfir started cropping up. And obviously from 1872, the year that I consider very important, when census was introduced, in which the column of religion was introduced also. So it was the classificatory model that gave a new orientation to religion, and religion became far too ritualistic. It became far too puritanical, and its substance somehow became rather dormant, to my understanding, and it became an identity marker. So whenever any religion becomes identity marker, so the love that has to underpin that message, it becomes dormant. And then you can see, as Francis Robinson has argued at one point in some of his works, that before the onset of British, the Shias and Sunnis used to go to seek instruction at Frangi Mahal, and they used to offer Juma prayers whenever possible together. So it was all by the introduction of Western modernity, which had inflected the culture, the inherent culture of the subcontinent. where Sufi Islam and the Sufi humanism took a backseat, and it became confrontational because of the classifications and because religion had become an identity marker. That would be my understanding, which I can share with you at this point in time.
Thank you.
Though one can say that, from Imam Ibn Taymiyyah onwards, things started getting vitiated, because of the extremism and because of the puritanical values getting entrenched. And Shahulullah also contributed to it along with Sheikh Ahmad Sarhindi, when Maktubat Imam Rabbani, he castigated Shias. So this understanding between various Sufi orders or various sects, they became quite hardened and solidified with the introduction of modernity in the wake of colonialism.
Thank you, Tahir Saab. Our next caller is Dr. Saeed Zaidi. Saeed.
Assalamu alaikum. So very good and interesting talk, and topic is not that is interesting, but not good for Pakistan or Muslims. But my question is on academic level. I know, ISI government knows their own facts, but Barhelvi, Deobandi has been there before partition, of course. And all this started in 80s because I was there. I left Pakistan in 1984. And that's the time when suddenly Sipah Sahaba, it was not a prominent, but they appear in picture. TLP was probably there, but not in this organized form. So my question is short. I'll make it short. On academic level, did we have any study done how they organize it, who organized them, how they got funded? Is it internal, external? Because to me, a TLP, if you look at, most of them look very jahil, not literate, not maybe somebody may have 12 great education. To get into the social media, get into this organization form, get in this destructive, and then grow such a big, strengthful organization. So that's my question is who and how this was organized and funded. And if you can, and not only TLP, I'm talking about Sipah Sahaba and Taliban, Pakistani Taliban. Can you enlighten us on that?
Well, so for us, let's begin by Spy Sahaba Pakistan. Its original name was Anjuman Spy Sahaba Pakistan, but since in English newspapers, its abbreviation was ASS, Anjuman Spy Sahaba. Therefore, they changed its name, SSP, Spy Sahaba Pakistan. So it was hammered into existence in 1985 in Jung. Haq Nawaz Jhangi was its founder. So it has been reported that whenever district administration tried to arrest Haq Nawaz Jhangi, General Ziaul Haq himself interceded and ordered district administration not to touch him. And Spy Sahaba had connections with Osama bin Laden also. Abdul Hussein in his autobiography has said when Haq Nawaz Jhangi was assassinated, she called his widow, and asked if she can be of any help. So she said that Osama Bhai is helping them, so she doesn't need anybody else's help. So, and now when I interviewed in Jung about Spy Sahaba, many people revealed that donations had been coming from Saudi Arabia and Saddam Hussein. So that is how Spy Sahaba became so powerful. And obviously later on, the Goonish elements and the drug money also started contributing into into the coffers of Spy Sahaba, as Maryam Abu Zahab reflects. So far as Taliban Pakistan is concerned, well, Ahmed Rashid has written a wonderful book on that. That was the creation of Pakistan, of course, with the help of Saudi Arabia and initially United States of America, and because those were the madaris or the religious seminaries from where they got their education and they were nurtured and nestled. So that's how Taliban came about, and they went back to Afghanistan with the support of ISI, of course. And Major General Nasirullah Babur is considered to be the founder. And without the support of Pakistan, obviously Taliban could not have their foothold in Afghanistan to become a formidable dispensation. And same is the case with TLP. TLP has support from the shrine-based versions of Islam in Pakistan, in particular, like Sial Sharif, like Gorda Sharif, all those, and Tonsa, Salman Tonsfi's shrine. All those shrines have been donating money to TLP, and of course, as I have described, whenever they were asked to get into action against any civilian government, the army was obviously their patron in chief. So it's very, very loud and clear. So there's no ambiguity about it. That not only the donations coming from the Sufi saints who are quite moneyed people, and the Pakistan establishment. These are the two main sources. And now they were quite rich, and they had lots of property and lots of money, and they're quite comfortable right now.
Thank you. Tahir Saab, Tahir Mahmood. Tahir Saab, do you want to raise question? Ask.
Yeah, I'm unmute. Assalamu alaikum. I forgot to unmute myself. Very quick and short question. Sir, whenever you see, mostly in Pakistan, from a macro view, there are two parties, the oppressors and the oppressed. I am an ordinary Pakistani standing in the streets of Pakistan asking for my rights. But the oppressors, the dictators, they don't want me there. They label me as TLP, they label me as TTP, they label me as Jamaat Islami and PTI. 10,000 people, activists are in jail. PTI. Why? Because they have a love for Islamic justice. When you say love of Islam, as Dr. Nazir Saab just said, people want justice of Islam. That kind of Islam they want. But the dictators don't want to impose it because they don't want to be accountable, whether Nawaz Sharif or Zardari or army, they don't want to be accountable for their sins. So what is the way out for a common Pakistani and Muslim like me who wants to see a change? We get elections and you don't get the power. The army sabotage elections. So what is the way out? What can we do in this scenario, sir?
Thank you.
Well, everyone asks this question, but there's hardly any credible and satisfying answer to it. In fact, the only thing that I keep saying to my students as well as to my young colleagues is that resistance is the only answer. Resistance to the authority, and that is a very, very difficult assertion to make in the current circumstances because then whenever you foster or you muster up resistance, you have to bear the consequences of it also. And consequences can be very dire, very, very brutal. But as I keep on saying that Pakistan is yet to get its freedom, and freedom without resistance, without struggle, without sacrifice is not possible. So even if Islamic justice is not possible unless we mount resistance. And another thing is that all of us had structures, epistemic and mental structures. Those structures were made by the colonial regimes. So it's rationalist structures within which we operate. So for Islam, we need to have different structures. We need to study Islam. We need to update Islam. We need to bring Islam in tune with the current circumstances, and that needs a proper scholarship that I don't see anywhere. So it's a tall order. But the thing is that keep on resisting. uh, अगर हाथ से नहीं तो जहन में तो कम से कम ये सोचें, दिल में तो ये सोचें कि नाइंसाफी हमें बर्दाश्त नहीं, मैं कबूल
Thank
नहीं.
you. Thank you. Let me read somebody's question, and I'll come later to our Dr. Sayyid Amir Saab. The question is from Shrikant Chopra ji. He is one of our regular audience. Question. First part already you gave, I think, the answer. Where does most of financial support for TLP comes from? And second is, and any thoughts about its role or approach to India-Pakistan conflicts? Thank you.
Well, since until it was banned and it was brutally muzzled on 13th of October 2025, it was at the beck and call of Pakistan's establishment. And whatever Pakistan's establishment thought, same thought had overtaken the leadership of TLP. So TLP didn't have any independent agenda towards India. So as I have said in my talk, that it acted as a proxy. So it's very safe to infer that vis-a-vis India, it had the same opinion as our military leadership or our government or our state agencies has. So
But
they were
the
they were
question
not.
is not, the question is not on opinion whether they have any hand or any kind of things that happen between India and Pakistan. Is there?
But their posture
No.
towards India,
Okay.
has to be antagonistic.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So another question is from one of your history teacher from Pakistan. She is also a regular attendee here, Dr. Iram Gul, and she is writing in Urdu. हमें तालीम हासिल करना चाहिए ताकि कोई हमारा इस्तेमाल ना कर सके. Very, very straight बात है. I mean, is this the, as always is the case, literacy or education is the one that is the count?
Yes, that's fine. But what sort of education we want to get,
That's
And those people who have ruined Pakistan, were they illiterate? Those people who have committed atrocities, were they illiterate? They were educated people.
yeah.
So what sort of an education, and what sort of a human values that anyone wants to cultivate in people? So it's all personalized. The Pakistan lacks ownership from any quarter, any institution, and Pakistan is being victimized by personal agendas. So education only. I cannot incriminate the poor peasant who is unlettered, but he is doing his work and he is growing crops for all of us to feed ourselves.
That's true. Yeah.
He is innocent. Those people who have personal agendas, who are educated, who have exposure, they're the culprits. So their orientation had to be set right.
Well, your answer demands that I should call now Dr. Sayyid Amir to elaborate on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. First of all, I don't think that we believe in, say, education. Education has to be the right kind of education. There are a lot of madrasas in Pakistan, proliferation of it, who are stuck in the Middle Ages, and the education they impart. And General President Musharraf tried to reform, couldn't do it because their position was so strong. So, first of all, I want to ask you that what do you think is the role of these madrasas? They educate the millions of students they are preparing. They are all stuck in the old Middle Ages. How much they contribute to it. The second is a strange phenomena is that if you look at it, Punjab seemed to be the fertile ground for these extremist organizations, whether it's Labbaik, Pakistan, Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Pakistan, they all, some of them even actually, they threatened the foundation of the state of Pakistan. As we all know, the founders were secular, but this has drifted quite a lot. So if you could expound on that, and how do you view these questions or their answers?
The first question is that about the seminaries. Punjab obviously is the hatchery of those seminaries which produce lots of fundamentalists and very, very puritanical version of Islam gets poured from the seminaries which work in the Punjab. That's true, particularly in Sahiwal, in Faisalabad, and Bahawalpur, Muridke. These are the areas where those seminaries work. And so far as I know, those seminaries started coming up in a large number ever since Pakistanis started going to the Gulf region for for their livelihoods. They came back. Whenever they came back, they were richer, but there was ideological alteration, and they became more puritanical, more ritualistic, and there was a disconnect between culture. Because culture had been a conduit, religion becomes a blessing if it works as a twin traveler with religion. Culture has to mediate between the human being and the religious message. That culture is missing, and the biggest question which can be posed to any Pakistani academic is about Pakistani culture and Pakistan and the citizens of Pakistan and their connection with the soil on which they live. So, and obviously with their past also, they're very apologetic so far as their past is concerned about their culture. So the message reached them in an entire abstraction. So it was highly abstracted version of Islam that got into their skulls from 1970s onwards. And 1979 is a very, very important year in the history of Pakistan, where three or four things happened. First is Afghan Jihad, and second was the Ziaul Haq's program of Islamization. Then Khomeini Saab's revolution in Iran, which mobilized Shias in Pakistan also, and its backlash came. And another thing which was very, very important, that was Zakat and Ushur Ordinance. Zakat and Ushur Ordinance set Shias against Sunnis and the Sunnis against Shias. Because when Zakat was promulgated, Shias said blank no to that tax which was levied, and they marched on to Islamabad, and Ziaul had to give them exemption. And that's how Tehreek-e-Labbbaik Jafriya came up in 1979 in the district of Bakr. That's how this religion and politics had got entangled very badly. Not that it was not there in Pakistan before that; it was very much before that. But the sectarian angle of religion, it got mingled with politics, and that became lethal for Pakistan's politics. So that is the real problem. Not only Ziaul's years, but before that, 1949 was very, very important. Then, declaration of Andes in 1975, it opened the floodgates of exclusion on the religious basis. So all that set the context for whatever we are witnessing in Pakistan. I hope I have answered your question, sir.
Okay, all right, let's move on. There's one academic from Pakistan, where is it? Muhammad Usman Ghani. So he's asking you, where is Muhammad Usman Ghani? 1 second. Are there international precedents where the state used religious protest groups for political objectives, and what lessons apply to Pakistan? I mean,
in the modern era, well, I can refer to India. BJP is in the saddle, and they are trying to use religion as a political tool. And vicariously, one can say that Donald Trump is also using it, and Israel is using it, and all of them are not very good examples to emulate, unfortunately.
and
So in the recent history, in the modern history, religion unfortunately has become a tool of division and exclusion, not the tool for inclusion or or positive interaction between diverse groups. It could not bring about harmony and unanimity. It have brought animosity. Therefore, I think state and religion and politics should stay separate to each other. That is the only way forward, I think.
So his follow-up question is, what steps can Pakistan take to prevent violent protest mobilization while still allowing democratic expression?
Well, democracy, if followed in a two-letter and spirit, I think the biggest message of democracy is social justice. And if social justice does not transpire as a result of democracy, it is no democracy. All the citizens should be equal before law. Constitution should be upheld, whatever the circumstances may be. But there is no likelihood of this happening in Pakistan with 27th Amendment in place. This is not a very simple. This may be a very, very simple question, but all simple questions have a very, very convoluted and hard answers. So all nation has to stand up for social justice, and I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Razi, I have a comment question, quick, if you have time.
Well, hold on. Let me ask those who are waiting, and I'll ask you back, okay? I'll bring you back. Dr. Abdul Jabbar. So He comes from a very unique
You're
perspective.
giving introduction. Okay,
He
thank
is
you.
from extreme southern end of India, so he has very little about this Deobandi, Barelvi, India, Pakistan, whatever. He is in Atlanta. He is a very good scientist. So please, Dr. Jabbar. Doesn't understand Urdu also.
Thank you. You covered everything that I wanted to say in the first minute or so. So, fantastic discussion. So like Dr. Razuddin Saab start talking about, I'm very naive to the conflicts and then contradictions happening in Pakistan. It's much, I also North India. I don't know too much about that. So I was born into a Muslim family, but I didn't know too much about Islam. But I learned after coming here 1981. At the same time, I think Dr. Zadrin also migrated to the US. So my question, very personal first. I have listened to a few intellectuals of Pakistan on this forum. So very courageous people. You are very courageous. How do you maintain that kind of courage inside Pakistan? I want to answer. I want to get that input. Then I'll ask other questions. One more.
Well, thank you very much, Abdul Jabbar sir. It's really a pleasure talking to you, and I have some connection with Atlanta also. My younger brother had been living there. Now he has moved to LA. So, uh, well, first of all, I think that when you talk to anyone in English and in an academic jargon, I think those people from whom one may fear, they don't virtually bother because whatever you're saying, it cannot be accessed or could hardly be understood by the commoners. So if same conversation is made in Urdu, then consequences will be different. And second is that for my own satisfaction, I have to say a few things that I feel, and I have a lot of agony and anguish for whatever is being unfolded in my own country. And I want democracy to prevail. I want egalitarianism to prevail. I want the people who are marginalized and who are dispossessed, they should be provided social justice. In the sense the Rawls talks about the opportunities, equality of opportunity. So someone has to say a few things about that. But obviously, I'm talking to erudite people, educated people. And obviously, common Pakistanis will not be listening to us. So I think I'm safe.
Thank you. But the other one, the intellectualism, the progressive nature is ingrained in Islam. That's what I thought. So that's a reading of my recent readings of books, but one of the remarkable figure in Pakistan produced Abdul Salam. So, as I posted that, I listened, I watched this Netflix documentary, 75-minute. So you must have done the same. So such figure is not celebrated is despised. That's what the documentary comes out, because even the first ... Nobel laureate, the ... is as a Muslim, the first Muslim Nobel laureate. So if you have this kind of societal issues of not intellectualism is not, promoted or even acknowledged. So that is the problem, I think.
In fact, I'm a great admirer of Dr. Abdul Salam. He comes from the same district as I do.
Mhm.
And he was associated with University of Cambridge, and I lived in Cambridge for 5 years.
Mhm.
So the real problem with how people misbehaved with Dr. Abdul Salam, and even his grave was desecrated,
Mm.
was his association with Ahmadi community, and he was not apologetic about it.
Mhm.
So when he died and he was brought in here after his death, people agitated, and Dr. Islam, despite best of his efforts to serve Pakistan, was not allowed to do so. So he had to establish his institute in Italy. And begin with, he wanted to establish it in Pakistan. So, nevertheless, from traced, he kept on encouraging Pakistani physicists. So it's and somehow it's unfortunate that in Pakistan, all those people who served Pakistan, they were not treated nicely. Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan met the same fate. Imran Khan is in jail. So many other people were not acknowledged. So it's a strange power game in Pakistan. So it's unfortunate. Um, uh, and religious extremism, I think Pakistani establishment, had some role to play in um, in accelerating or in inflating this religious extremism, and particularly General Ziaul Haq is the main culprit. This concept of jihad was restored, and young people were sent to Afghanistan, and they got killed. And most of that war, jihad, was fought by the civilians, not Pakistan's army. So right from the very beginning, Pakistan was ruled by non-political, non-democratic forces, and that is unfortunate. That is the upshot of this fact. All popular leaders, Liaquat Ali Khan, Fatma Jinnah, Benazir Bhutto, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, uh, Akbar Khan Bugti, all of them were killed or assassinated or hanged. By whom? If you just read any book of Pakistan's history, you will get to know about this. So popular leadership and the scholarly person, uh, they were maltreated, unfortunately. Beyond that, it's really difficult for me to say anything.
Thank,
I can only show my remorse and lamentation for this.
understood. Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
So
Thank you very much.
the question comes from your University of Sargodha, Pakistan,
Yes.
Mr. Aman Farid. I have two questions. Does TLP motivate people because of real religious devotion, or do they use emotions to gain political power? This is question one. Second,
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
and how does, maybe you can mix it, how do TLP's anti-Western speeches and protests affect Pakistan's international image and relations? both?
Well, this I have discussed in my talk that the Pakistan's image was tarnished. You know, when they said to the government to send France's ambassador home, and when they said that Pakistan should wage a war against Sweden, so that's loud and clear. What sort of an image or what sort of an impression um, uh, the world all around the world got or made up of Pakistan. You know, it was a negative image that Pakistan's publicity was adversely affected by that. And whenever you use religion and you contest elections and you hold rallies, it means that you're using religion for political gain. And this is what TLP did. Though they didn't have any clear-cut agenda, if they get power, what will do, how would they resolve Pakistan's economic issues, which were fairly complex and vexed? You know, how would they deal with IMF and World Bank? And then, as a religious party, what would be their standpoint on interest or usury? All these are very, very difficult questions to answer, and and all these religious parties have no answer to that. They are looking for a tiny small role within the state so that they can get benefits, or they keep on taking advantages by having one or two ministries and which may get them favors, monetary favors, as well as the share in power. But all of them are very clear that they are not going to get absolute power in Pakistan, and rather civilian power in Pakistan has never been set up, and there's no likelihood that that civilian power will ever uh, be accepted by the power that be.
Thank you. So again, Dr. Iramgul, I mean, these are Pakistani citizens and they are deeply concerned. She writes, majorities in South Asia are insecure and have inculcated hatred against the minorities. That's also true. Despite of being in majority, is this a colonial legacy or something inbuilt in South Asian societies, or whatever may be the reason? I mean,
I don't think it's inbuilt in South Asian society. You know, South Asia has a civilization that goes back to centuries, and so it has one of the oldest civilizations, and it sustained its civilization till colonial Western colonial power came and took over. So one cannot blame South Asia because it is in the DNA of South Asia to maltreat the minorities, you know, or some section. Yeah, you know, it's so it is the colonial legacy, particularly in Pakistan, because Pakistan unfortunately could not develop alternative structures to colonialism. It accepted colonial structures as they were, and they're continuing to do that. You know, the London was replaced with Washington, you know, after 1947, and now every major decision is being taken from Washington, and that's unfortunate. You know, and Washington carries out regime changes as and when it wants in Pakistan. So Pakistan needs to assert its freedom because in any definition of a free nation, Pakistan falls short, unfortunately.
true. So,
Pakistan must assert its freedom, and it must explore its inner potential. instead of playing at the hands of bigger powers, and keep on asserting its geostrategic location and asking various countries to honor Pakistan geostrategic location, and as a result of which, big powers should cut a deal with it. That's not a positive approach. You must, the youth bulge is 65% in Pakistan. So invest on human resources, invest on social sector, uh, carry out drastic reforms in education and healthcare, and do something about how to put your youth to your own advantage, instead of negotiating with either Saudi Arabia or UAE or America. That's not the way free countries or the independent countries um, conduct themselves.
Thank you. Very thoughtful. I wish the Ambassador Ishrat Aziz were still here, but he made a comment here just to let you know. Democracy and secularism are inseparable. But in a paradoxal way, democracy has contributed to involvement of religion in politics. Democracy is about elections, and religion helps win elections. What is the solution?
I'm around, Razi.
Oh, you are still here.
Yeah.
I thought that you left. You
Oh,
wrote that you left. Okay.
but I think
Uh,
some very
uh,
presented, yes.
Ishrat Bhai has been India's ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Brazil, UAE, Tunisia, and I don't know, maybe I'm missing. He is one of
Razi Saab was a bit concerned. Razi Saab was a bit concerned that whether we will get some audience or not, because he thought that topic is so
yeah.
is such that it will not be appreciated by many. But I'm happy that such
Questions
renowned
are,
figures.
questions are very nice, you know.
Yeah. No, such renowned figures are
Yeah.
joining in and showing interest in this. I'm really very happy.
Ishrat
Well,
Bhai.
so far as religion is concerned, well, in modern politics, how come religion becomes relevant? And whenever religion has become relevant in democracy, it hasn't played a positive role, because, my real problem is that has been spoiled by two things: religion and capitalism. Democracy has largely become subservient to capitalist interests in the world, and that is not good for democracy. And second is that in countries like Pakistan, religion was invoked as an instrument to gain votes. That, to a certain extent, that has played its part, but largely all religious parties, they have contested all the elections that were ever held. Not, religious parties failed to make a difference. They could not form a government, and at best they played second fiddle to the establishment or the government in power, just to have few ministries, some financial favors. Otherwise, it's only in India, other than Israel, that religion has made such a big difference. That BJP has used Hindu majoritarianism, unfortunately. And Nehruvian vision, which was a very progressive ideology, that ideology has been debunked. That has been totally totally jettisoned. And that's unfortunate because Jawaharlal Nehru was a visionary. And now I don't see the future of democracy very safe with the current.
That's very depressing.
Yeah, that is very depressing. Yeah,
If Razi allows me one more minute, I'll just make one or two more brief comments.
Sure.
Is that men of reason, and I consider myself as one of them, they are at great disadvantage in dealing with extremists, because extremism can very easily be propagated and promoted by a few slogans, while
that's right.
men of reason have to go on writing prose, pages and pages of prose to explain what they are trying to say. So that's a great disadvantage. I don't know how to overcome it, how to make reason as appealing to masses and as motivating to masses as extremism. Having said that, what I want to say is that I don't know how theologians have united religion and politics. First of all, the politics of the bygone era was quite different from the politics of today when democracy and elections take place. But what I don't understand why they have, on what basis they have mixed the two things up, because I don't find, I have read Quran and Hadith very carefully, very, very carefully. I don't find any basis there for this union of religion and politics. And certainly not today's politics of not today's electoral politics. Thank you.
Yeah. I think Abul Kalam Azad, his insights were very perceptive, and I think he understood the malaise that Muslims were undergoing very well. And I think his Ummul Kitab and his Tarjumanul Quran has quite a few, and his Tazkira, that book. They had a lot of enlightening views that one can benefit from. Is that's true. I agree with Ishwatati Saab to the hilt. Yes.
Thank you. So let me ask one of our very dear attendees, Neeraj Kumar Lalji. Do you want to make some brief comment or a question, Neeraj Saab?
Sir, good evening. Sorry, good morning to you.
आप वीडियो ऑन कर ले, वीडियो ऑन कर ले, आपका
जी वीडियो ऑन कर ले. अच्छा,
आपका चेहरा अच्छा रहेगा ना अभी. आप बहुत ऊंचा क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं, पूछिए.
क्योंकि पाकिस्तान की स्थिति के बारे में मेरा कोई आइडिया नहीं है.
अरे तो आपके पड़ोसी हैं, आप पड़ोसी हैं तो बात कीजिए. हम लोग तो तीसरे मुल्क में बैठे हैं. आप तो बम्बई में हैं ना इस वक्त. बॉम्बे में, आर यू इन बॉम्बे?
अभी आज आई मीन पटना.
ओके, गुड.
तो अभी बिहार का इलेक्शन खत्म हुआ है ना.
आप ताहिर साहब से पूछिए, कहिए जो आपको कहना है.
नहीं, मेरा इससे एक्सट्रीमिज्म और पॉलिटिक्स से नहीं, बट एक बात समझ नहीं आई मेरे को अभी तक कि हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान के लोगों में जो दोस्ती होनी चाहिए वो एक टैबू क्यों है. हिंदुस्तानी समझते हैं पाकिस्तानी उनके दुश्मन है, और पाकिस्तानी समझते हिंदुस्तानी उनके दुश्मन है. ये परसेप्शन क्यों है?
It's a good question.
It's a good question. It's a simple question, but it's very hard.
Very complex. Very complex.
Very complex. It's many years ago, I went to JNU as a visiting faculty, and people started asking me whether Pakistan and India can unite. So I said, well, forget about it. If we can exist as friendly neighbors. I think that's the only way forward. So there has to be some serious dialogue between the two countries. And, there's no easy way out, but that way out is very, very important. Pakistan and Indian people can live um, to their optimum best only if Pakistan and India are at good terms, cordial terms. ये बात समझनी बहुत ज़रूरी है और particularly at the level of intelligentsia, I think there should be such communication as we are having right now. मेरी ये विनती होगी रजी साहब से कि इस तरह से और पाकिस्तानियों को आप मौका दें so that such interaction takes place between Indian educated people and Pakistanis. I am very happy that people from Sargodha are on board here. So I will also spread the word that this is Indian diaspora is a wonderful platform, and many people should join and have some interaction. And you will be very happy to know the university that I'm associated with. In these troubled times, we get Indian students. Madanji scholarship is offered to them, and they come to our university. Our university is the only university in Pakistan that hosts students from all countries of so India.
जी जो बात इसकी है ना, the issue is I don't think that ordinary regular Indians or Pakistanis have any issues really. They would they were always friendly and they like and love each other's cultural things. The issue is really at the government level. It doesn't matter which governments, wherever they come, it doesn't matter. Issues, so people want to mingle, intermingle, and want to.
No, but right now, I think there is a mistrust among the people also because whatever is being propagated through media and the people like who is it who is a very very fiery and vociferous electronic media person who does his program from Bombay. What's his name? Mm, he is very vociferous. He is very, very angry.
One of the channels.
One of the channels. Yeah.
Well, there's a.
Gaurav, no, there's.
What is that?
I think you mean Arnab Goswami.
Adnan?
Arnab Goswami.
Yes.
No, and he is very popular.
But he fled Mumbai. He fled Mumbai, na.
Yeah, that's right. And Sudhir Kumar and all those fellows,
Yeah, but
so these people these people are adding to the bitterness,
That's true. But there are so much goodwill other channels play. There are other intellectuals, other artists, and other common people. There is plenty of positive examples rather than one, two extremists. They will be always in a free country. They will be there.
But that's quite instinctive to the people. They listen and they're carried away by those people who have slogans, who are slogan mongers and who speak louder and who have.
But you yourself said that these slogan mongers or haters always get a lot of attention.
Warmongers, yes.
Otherwise, अदरवाइज जैसे अभी देखिए ननकाना साहिब जाने के लिए इंडियंस को पाकिस्तान में वीजा नहीं मिलता है. Numbers are very
जी
limited.
जी
There
जी
are that people who go there, they are being trapped and being made to convert into Islam. ये सब जो बातें
नहीं,
होती
वो इस्लाम को कन्वर्ट करने का नहीं है ज्यादा, वो मेरा ख्याल है दैट इज जस्ट
हाँ नहीं,
जस्ट
Propaganda
न्यूज़पेपर में
भी है. There's a lot of propaganda.
न्यूज़पेपर में जो आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग इट इज ट्रू, बट न्यूज़पेपर में जो आ रहा है
हाँ,
सिमिलरली
न्यूज़पेपर्स में जो आता है, हाँ, न्यूज़पेपर्स में
पाकिस्तान
बिल्कुल।
होता है तो एंटी इंडिया रेटोरिक ज्यादा होता है. बट यही देखिए अभी एक कमेंट जो आया डॉक्टर इरम गुल का कि यूरोप में इंडियंस एंड पाकिस्तानीज आर लिविंग इन वेरी गुड हार्मनी.
यस यस
ये तो हमने एक्सपीरियंस किया है. एक बार मुझे मौका मिला था जर्मनी जाने का, तो फ्रैंकफर्ट में आई हैड बीन टू सम ईटरी शॉप थी, वहां तो बना बनाया खाना मिलता है. The owner was from Pakistan. When I entered the shop, he asked me whether I am from India or Pakistan. I said, certainly, I am from India. Then I wanted some particular ये to buy. So he said कि ये आपके लिए नहीं है, ये बड़े का मांस है.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा
रास्ता तो he could have told it to me very easily because I wanted to buy that dish, but he said नहीं ये आपके लिए नहीं, ये बड़े का मांस है. तो
नहीं
ये
नीरज जी, ये अभी हालात ठीक होते हैं तो आप आइए, लाहौर आइए, आपको हम कहेंगे आने का, तो आई एम क्वाइट श्योर के
बहुत मस्त
और
रहेंगे, बहुत
ये
मस्त
जो
रहेंगे
कह रही
वहाँ.
है कि वो देहरादून आना चाहती हैं, वो माय ग्रैंड माइग्रेटेड
पर
फ्रॉम देयर।
जिन लाहौर नहीं वेख्या
हाँ, वो जमिया ही नहीं है, वो जमिया ही नहीं, you know, one who hasn't seen Lahore hasn't born yet, you know,
वेरी
so आप आइए और
सर. अभी पिछले महीने आई वॉज इन अमृतसर, सो आई वॉज सेइंग कि भाई देखिए पहले आधे घंटे में लोग लाहौर चले जाते थे, अब जाने के लिए कितनी मशक्कत करनी पड़ती है.
So
तो लाहौर नहीं.
such talk is, I think, heartening. It's a good thing to talk. That casual expressions from an Indian to a Pakistani also is good in multiple ways. It creates some kind of affinity also, or removes a little misunderstanding. Or something. It
एफिनिटी तो
helps.
सर हमेशा अमृता प्रीतम ने लिखा था, शायद आप
जी
लोग
जी
जानते हो कि एक बार एक सज्जन पाकिस्तान से आए उनके पास, तो उनके लिए आधा दर्जन केले लेके आए. तो अमृता प्रीतम वॉज वेरी सरप्राइज कि भाई आप पाकिस्तान से आ रहे हैं, ये केले लेके क्यों आ रहे हैं. तो ही सेड कि व्हेन आई वाज कमिंग टू द एयरपोर्ट, एक केले वाला आया मेरे पास एंड ही आस्क्ड मी, आप दिल्ली जा रहे हो? बोला हाँ. तो अमृता प्रीतम से मिलोगे? तो बोला हाँ. तो ये 6 केले आप उनको मेरी तरफ से दे देना, मेरा आधा. दिस वाज द इमोशनल कनेक्ट बिटवीन इंडियन एंड पाकिस्तानी.
अब भी है सर,
I think
पब्लिक में अब भी है.
So
that is
on that good note, let's end this. Tahir Sahib must be very tired now. Over 2 hours. It was a wonderful session.
No, I thank you, Neeraj Kumar ji. I'm really grateful to Raziuddin Sahab, and I'm really grateful to Abdul Jabbar Sahab from Atlanta, Tahir Mahmood, and particularly my colleague, Dr. Waqas Sajjad. He concluded it very well. It was addition to my information. He is a wonderful scholar, and one of the assets for us, and Ishrat Aziz Saab. So all of them, I am eternally grateful, and I hope that in this fast shrinking world, we will bump into each other physically.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
we will see each
so,
other more and
so
more.
we all wish well to the people of the subcontinent.